welcome everyone to our January community update. I'm gonna talk about the schedule quickly. So we plan about 30 to 40 minutes for a moderated discussion. So we go over a few interesting topics with you guys, and also add a few community questions to that. We're also gonna have the drawing for the first 2 TST winners. So 200,000 TST find a new home today. And afterwards, we're going to open up the discussion so you guys can chime in and contribute any questions you have. So, yeah.
Awesome.
First of all, how were your holidays, guys?
Much needed. I don't think I've had a proper digital detox for like 3 years. And so it was really nice to recharge, spend some time with the family. And I'm full power. Back to it as of this week, just catching up with a trillion emails and all that jazz that comes along with that.
Yeah, there's always a spam after the holiday season of emails to answer. Mine was good too. I finally saw my brother again after 2 years of global shutdowns and lockdowns and closed borders. Yeah, he flew in from Hong Kong, which was really nice. So we met all in my hometown. It was great.
Awesome. That's good to hear. So, and over the holidays, we also had a special event. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? What happened on the Christmas Eve?
No. What happened?
What happened?
Well, it actually was your post that we had this first smart vault lockup.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I'm still stuck with was there another child porn or what happened? No, yeah, that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked with that because Simon's been beavering away on a whole bunch of stuff, and so it was a great message to get. The interesting thing is I talked to Simon a long time about all the issues with Ethereum. Me being a old school Bitcoiner, obviously, I really love the Bitcoin side of things, and want to see what we can do on RSK and stuff like that. But we're also looking at a whole bunch of the different technologies, the so-called Ethereum killers, which I don't believe there are. Like, I think Ethereum will still win out, but definitely wanting to have a look at the right technologies to build upon. And when I talked to our chief technical officer about this, Simon, really, he said it doesn't really matter. And I also talked to a few other people who also said the same thing. We don't need to hitch our horse right now to any chain because it's basically coding the logic behind this stuff, and even if it needs to be transposed, so to speak, over to Rust or Go or something like that, we can do that once we have the logic ironed out. So that was pretty cool. He's just full steam ahead, just doing it on the EVM testnet, and then going from there. So I think it's something that we want to open up to the DAO anyway, up to all you guys here to discuss as well. And I'm hoping to get some really interesting discussions happening. The problem I've found in the past when I've gone to other communities to talk about technology is that so many people are holding a whole bunch of different tokens, and they're more shilling the projects that they want to go up purely because they're holding a stake in that rather than on a technological front choosing the right one. So it's an interesting conundrum on what to choose, and we'll have more to say on that point moving forward. We'll post a whole bunch of different discussion topics into the TST chat, and we'll let you guys have your say and feedback on that, which will be really interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the gas fees are really an issue. We saw it during the copper sale. where people were they just, when they wanted to acquire a minor even TST stake, it didn't make sense to pay all these gas fees, because a lot of them were just like, yeah, I want to participate, I want to be part of the standard, but all these gas fees are just too expensive to just buy some tokens. So this was the feedback that came actually from our community, from you guys, and we are picking this up, and we have to find a way to solve the gas fees problem, or Ethereum has to find a way to solve this, because, for example, those stable coins, they are built for transfers. We want to build them to compete with the regular world where transactions don't cost so much, and therefore we have to find a solution that works the best to lower the gas fees, that people can actually use stable coins for transactions.
Yeah, I mean the obvious ones are layer 2 on Ethereum. I've been super bullish on Starknet. That's the main one we've been doing R&D on. The only thing is it's still very centralized. They have got a centralized sort of almost a coordinator type node deal going on, and when you're doing something this disruptive, you're going to get a lot of enemies in central banks, in governments. So I'd rather build on something that just is neutral in terms of technology, so that we can just build some cool shit and let it roll out and see what happens, rather than something that can be just shut down. So Starknet, I'm not saying it's shut downable, but it's still in super early phases. So we want to make sure that I think we'll put a proper post out on this, because there's a bunch of prerequisites that we really need in terms of the base layer technology that we're going after. Obviously, cheap transactions, like Lauren stated, but then also a good community that already has a bunch of other DeFi assets running, so that we can plug into that stuff. Because if we're just on the newest, hippest chain and there's no other DeFi protocols to interact with, it gets, it's a very, very risky move. So Polygon is obviously winning the race at the moment, because they're just going after every scaling solution, from optimistic rollups to ZK rollups to they've just got everything running. They're trying it all. So that's definitely interesting. What I don't like is that they've got their own token. There's a whole bunch of stuff involved to move. So I don't know. It's an evolving game, and like I said, let's have a discussion as a community and see where that takes us.
I love how you automatically segued into the minimal viable product topic. So that was actually the first the standard protocol topic for today. Is there anything else you would like to MVP, or should we move over to what's going on within the company in terms of marketing right now?
No, I mean, like I stated, I just wanted to reiterate that we're building anyway, just on base layer Ethereum EVM at the moment, because we can port that across to anything. Any chain that's serious is EVM compatible. So it's not a big issue, but it's definitely something that we need to discuss as a community.
All right. Then maybe Lauren, what is going on in terms of marketing at TheStandard? What can you share with us?
So marketing and business development both are going great. I mean, we have been a little bit quiet during the holidays, but a lot of people were off. So now we are turning on the communication channels again. We are creating a lot of content, a lot of educational content as well. Because what we witness is a lot of people really want to be educated about stablecoins, and actually also like about the various stablecoins that vary in, for example, pegging mechanisms and such. So we are creating a lot of content. We are putting it out there on the marketing front, but also we are hiring. After the sale, the copper sale, where we have raised funds, now it's time to use these funds to get the word out in the world, saying that we are looking for marketing experts to join us, and we are also looking for developers to join us to really build the protocol. So that's on the marketing front. On the business development front, we have a senior hire who's also here today. Taya, hello to you. Who's really taking on the partnerships, and that's like partnerships for the protocol. And that's also starting to really take off. We are talking to a lot of big protocols, a lot of big communities. People from the new world, how I call it, in the crypto world, and people from the old world, a little bit more traditional businesses, to become our partners. And we are really building a strong partnership portfolio with a whole massive variety of partners. But just to give you a brief overview, what we are specifically looking at, we want to find a lot of use cases for the stablecoins. So we are partnering with the other DeFi projects that actually can facilitate liquidity pools, so people can start earning a yield on their stablecoins. We are also partnering with card issuers, or looking into partnering with card issuers that will allow people to top up their credit cards with S-Euro, and then swap it once a purchase is done into normal euro, so that people can actually start spending stable coins in their everyday life. So that's just two of partnership groups that we are looking at. The other side is for the collateral side, we are looking into wallets that we want to partner with, into hard asset custodians, meaning gold retailers. Just this week, I had a fantastic call with a gold retailer from Germany. They are really excited about TheStandard. It seems like they have been waiting for a solution like this. So finally, people can start easily borrowing against their gold, and that this mechanism is not only available to the people that hold $1 million worth of gold somewhere, but also to the smaller crowd of gold investors. So we are talking to hard asset custodians, wallets. We are looking into the various collaterals that we can put one day into these smart goals. And there's a lot of things happening in the business development side, which is great. And I'm really happy to see that people are really picking this up, and they're waiting for something like this seems like for a long time.
Awesome. Yeah. So you guys gotta let Peter Schiff know that we're gonna save his butt.
Yeah, Pete. I've met Peter a few times, and he's quite an arrogant fellow, so it's kind of hard, and he's very sort of self-assured with his opinions and dogmatic. So I don't know. Maybe it's just all marketing, because every time he tweets about how terrible crypto is, he gets a lot of eyeballs pointed at him. It's quite interesting that his son is right into crypto. So I think it's all a big marketing game.
Yeah, speaking of marketing, I would also maybe underline that we're working on a more holistic marketing strategy right now. So we kind of want to put our social media, our video content, and our articles into one big information funnel. And also, Lauren, you were talking to me yesterday and today also about the transparency that we want to build for the DAO. Maybe you can add a little bit on that topic.
Yes. So we want to build a DAO that is actually a real DAO. It's not just a label that you stick on it. It's actually, we really want to build a decentralized, autonomous organization that will manage and govern the protocol. And rather than waiting for the MVP to be out there and then to kick off with the DAO, Pavel, you and we talked about this extensively this week, saying that we want to bring the DAO to life first through our Discord. So I posted that this week, a request for you guys to maybe come up with events that you would like to see us attending. And I got some response. Miami 2022 will be as big as last year, I believe. Definitely a go-to place. But I don't think that, although this is, I think, the most popular crypto event in the world, I think there are other events that are awesome too. So I would love for you guys to post below that post that I have written up there, events that you would recommend us to go to, where you would like to see us. So we're gonna take these. We will make a big list and then break it down shorter and shorter, and let the DAO potentially decide. Really, so the community decide at the end where we will attend. There will be also a full list published as soon as it's ready and as soon as it's scheduled. So you guys can always check where you can meet us in person. So that's really the beginning. I mean, it's a soft launch of the DAO, but there will be more and more decisions set up here transparently for you guys to participate in. First, in the Discord channel and the Discord server, but in the future, we will also find technology to facilitate a proper voting mechanism so that we, when the MVP is then finally out, we will really have a tool where people can place votes and participate in the governance.
Yeah. And Josh, do you want to add to a few technical options that we're looking into right now?
For the DAO?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, Aragon is really nice. There's the problem is as well. It's just constantly it's these gas fees. No one wants to pay a shitload of money just to make a vote. So we're looking at Snapshot for voting because all you need to do is sign a message to prove that you've got a stake in some TST, so that then counts your vote gaslessly. So that's really nice. So it might be a mixture of Aragon and that. We're also building a backend, obviously, on TheStandard.io where you log in with MetaMask and can start to go there. So there's the main thing that we're focused now on is our CTO is the core base contracts for the standard, and so it's always this is why we're now obviously we've got we've got a couple of developers in house for Voltoro. They're helping out as well, but we really want to scale the development team, and this is turning out to be quite tricky. There's very few really good developers out there. If they are, they're already working on either their own project or someone else's. So it's but we're getting closer, so that's good.
Great. And maybe another update in case you haven't visited our website in a bit. We're working on to implement the newest design into the website. So the career page and also the ecosystem page have been set up. We set up a special ecosystem page. So instead of getting spammed on Telegram by beat scammers or even legit products, that we're going to have one central form where everyone who is looking for a partnership can apply to us and reach out to us. And shout out to our graphic designer, Goldsheet. I really like how the website starts to look. So that's also something we've been working on since the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Also, a big shout out to Kazi and a Red Panda who are listening right now. Thanks a lot for all your help in
Absolutely.
Discord, yeah, really cool stuff.
All right. So the question is right now, Josh, do you wanna? We thought we're gonna have webcam stream here, but we haven't figured that one out yet. Maybe for the next one. But we promised that we're gonna choose the first two winners. Are you ready to do that? And then we're gonna move over to the written community questions. About that.
Yeah, let's do it. I've got. I have to click here on the.
So we asked the community to decide on how exactly we can verify that the TST1 are not going to go to some kind of bot. So the rule there is in case you get an email contacting you and saying that you won, you're going to have to set up a quick video call with me probably during the next week, so we can just quickly confirm that you are part of our community and you know what the standard is. So just with the 3-minute call, you can also ask some questions if you have, and yeah, that's going to be the only rule to claim your TST.
Yeah, it's. I think it was a good choice that everyone made to do that. Raffle presses, that's pretty easy, and yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's. I'll just on here, email verified, pick a winner.
Should I hit the drum?
Well, yeah, drum. Really verified winners. Should we do both of them at once?
Yeah, I guess let's do both. Yeah, just save the emails. I need them. I'm gonna contact the guys tomorrow.
Yeah. So choose the first winner is with 51 entries.
51 entries.
Yeah, 51 entries only. So that's is Mohammed Fatih. that's that guy. And
all right, congratulations.
Yeah,
congratulations, Mohammed.
If he's here, let's see. But we'll send him an email, and let's draw the next one. Choose winner. Fo Kwang with 63 entries.
63. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So lucky.
Yeah, that's really lucky, right? Because there's some people with like 1,300 entries and stuff. Anyway, there you go. So that's those two. All right. We'll email them, and if they don't reply, we'll redraw that next time.
Everyone who was there just to find out if they won, you guys can leave now. And we're going to shift over to the community questions that we got. And we got some really tough and good questions by Oris Dork.
Yeah,
awesome. I hope I pronounced the name right. So I'm going to read them out and you guys can answer them. So the first one is, I'm curious about how we imagine DAO asset holder contracts will be managed, especially in the event of a default breach of contract. Will the DAO form a legal entity to facilitate contracts and or contract legal representatives in the countries where contracts are signed?
So first of all, I'll just talk about that problem, and then I'll let Lauren discuss what we're thinking of doing. So yeah, this is a major problem with current DAOs, is that a lot of people, and we saw it a lot with the Dash community in the early days of DAOs. So they kind of had one of the first really running DAOs, and what we saw a lot was people coming in, making a whole lot of promises, getting paid in Dash, like the blockchain was paying out to them, and then it was just either they would run away, or they would not do the work, or they would do the work sort of half-assed and not be really interested anymore, or they would do it really well one month and then not the next month. And so there was a whole bunch of issues there and no real recourse. Now what they ended up doing was having like an investment fund that then can invest in people, which is a legal entity. But at the end of the day, a DAO, it's really, there's other ways of dealing with it rather than, legal threats. And one of them is obviously paying out after the fact is one option. So you say, hey, okay, you win. Let's say the proposal is do a podcast that talks about what we do or whatever, and then that person comes along and doesn't do it, then obviously we don't, the community doesn't pay out for that, or they vote against paying out for it. I think that's an okay way to go. It's not ideal because some proposals need capital up front to achieve. Let's say there's an event and they want capital to then print T-shirts and things like that. So the other thing is obviously having some sort of vesting that it vests out over time, and the other way is to actually give it to multiple people to do. So you say, hey, and I'm not a big fan of this one. Graphic designers got fucked over big time with this sort of style thing where they say, oh, everyone create a logo for me and we'll choose the best one and pay them. And it's kind of like, hang on. So like 20, 30 people did free work and then one person gets paid, and sort of unfair as well. So yeah, but there are some really interesting legal options which we're looking at as well, and I'll hand that over to Lauren.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Exactly. So the world hasn't heard of DAOs before the last couple of years. So there are not too many countries that have actually legal setups that could facilitate a DAO from a legal incorporation perspective. But one country, which is the US, in particular the state Wyoming, has a DAO, has passed a law that would that allows companies to be incorporated on the set of rules and be governed by a set of rules, which formally is then a DAO. And Wyoming is really the most forefront place to go to do this. So while this is a very new thing, not many DAOs have it yet and are not operating at a Wyoming DAO structure. But what it actually allows you to do is you have then a legal entity that is then governed by rules. So one of the rules could be that it's governed by the TST token holders. And this entity can then own other entities in offshore jurisdictions, in jurisdictions in Europe and around the globe, basically, because it is a legal entity. And we are talking with our legal team really closely about this DAO structure and investigating how to set it up properly. From a legal perspective, and so we are not set yet on doing it because there are a variety of different factors that come into play here. But we are really strongly looking at it and setting it up so that the DAO can actually sign legal contracts, which is great. Like the DAO can sign an engagement letter or engagement contract with, for example, a marketing agency or agencies that are not operating in that crypto space that actually need an engagement letter to start the work. And yes, so therefore this entity might be required, and we are strongly looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with cons and pros, and again, this is why it's really good to stick around in this Discord server, because we'll be discussing the cons and pros probably ad nauseum, because there's some really interesting pros and there's some interesting cons, and so for instance, it becomes sort of a little bit of an attack vector from a little bit in ways, and it might not. So I think this is we all have stuff to learn. It's brand new. Those cowboys in Wyoming are crazy and innovative. So for them to build
awesome. That this is coming out of Wyoming was quite surprising to me. Right. But I think Wyoming has been, in terms of regulations, really on the forefront of innovation. And I'm personally really excited to see how this will influence other countries around the globe to bring out similar things.
Yeah.
Well, who cares about that? I got the most important question of the evening. When moon? No, I'm joking. The second question is actually if we could get an update on timing/roadmap. So I guess in terms of MVP or the overall plan for the next year, if you guys can outline that a little bit.
Yeah, so we've always said that we're hoping that the MVP will be sort of end of Q1, start of Q2. There'll be something there. It's again just it's definitely not a promise because it is tech and it can't break. Any smart contracts that hold funds have to be double, triple, quadruple checked and made sure it's right. The other thing is obviously launching the TST so it's tradable and continues finding its price. And one of the I guess this falls more into the question later on, so we'll cover that a little bit more on the fourth question.
So before the fourth comes the third, and it is: do we anticipate the DAO having appointed public figures who speak/do business on behalf of the DAO? You partially answered that question already.
Yeah. Sorry, you go for it, man.
Okay. The simple answer is yes. Yes, we want to have people that can be appointed by the DAO, and the DAO can choose who he trusts, who she trusts, and that's a part of the governance mechanism will be that the DAO can make all decisions basically, because the DAO will at the end govern that protocol. One part of this will be also a bounty program, where we will set out bounties for particular tasks. They're going to be publicly available, and everyone who wants to take it can bring up a proposal and can be then elected by the DAO to do a certain task. So that bounty program is also in the early drafting. So we are setting up at the moment, thinking of the first bounties that we can put out there. And we need to also find the right communication channel for this. For sure, you will be seeing these here on Discord. But for those who are not on Discord, we don't want to let them out. So we will potentially even have them up the website. So a lot of different people can actually participate in that bounty program.
Awesome. Josh, anything to add, or should we jump to the next one?
I mean, there's some good services out there as well to help spread the word. We might use some of them where you can list bounties for certain protocols, different crypto protocols. I know that Olympus Pro has some stuff up there, and a few other quite big projects. So might list some of the bounties on there as well.
Lovely. All right, let's jump into the fourth one. This one is a little bit bigger, so give me a minute. 15% of all TST, or 150 million, were slated for distribution in phase 2, yet only 50 were offered on Copper Launch and 3 million on Lua, leaving 97 million that were never made available. I understand that unsold Copper Launch TST was returned to the DAO treasury, but the other 97 million have not yet been made available, which appears to be a change in the planned distribution model. Can we get further insight into revisions to the distribution model and request more transparency for these kinds of changes in the future?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, great question. We had initially three distribution phases: the pre-market distribution, the private distribution, and then after MVP launch, the public distribution. And we are still going through the three phases. So there's no change in plan. However, it was also never with, for example, Copper, it was since the beginning clear that we will not sell all tokens on Copper. The reason why we called it a private distribution was because we wanted to, yes, everyone who already has found us and wanted to participate could participate. So it wasn't private through that way, but it was private as this project is really early on. And we are still talking to a lot of strategic partners, and particular big VCs that we want to get on board. And there's this allocation that hasn't been sold for these strategic partners to be picked up. So while building this, while coding the MVP on the tech side, we on the business side are talking to a lot of funds that are investing in the DeFi crypto space, and we are trying to make some deals with them, or we are in the process of setting up deals with them to get VCs on board. Now you guys might think, why do you want to get VCs on board? This is a DeFi project. Yeah, VCs are still important. Number one, they give us a lot of credibility, and in the crypto space, credibility is really important. And number two, they open doors, and they have established networks. They have contacts to other DeFi projects that they can make easily intros. And we are, with our current investors, or the current participants that hold TST, that are actually coming from the VC world and have invested in us. I'm in close contact with them almost weekly, and I do speak to them about partners. I do speak with them about feedback on the next steps. So it was always our mission to have strategic investors on board. And so far, we have some great strategic investors that help us a lot. And we are still looking for others to join.
Yeah, but at the same time, we've said no to some VCs that didn't want vesting. So just to make sure that you guys know that we're absolutely committed to long-term vesting for any larger players, and they have to fulfill a whole bunch of things for us. Like Lauren said, open doors. They have to have a large network, and they have to have long vesting periods, so that there's no way to rug pull on us as a community.
Exactly. It was hard decisions that we have to take there when people were offering a lot of, our VCs were offering a lot of money, but we're just not comfortable with vesting periods. We said no to a bunch of them, and I'm actually very proud of our team that we did that. I believe
it felt good, because I've dealt with VCs for a long time with Voltoro, and they're just so arrogant and annoying that it felt good to close the door.
All right, let's jump into the last question before we open it up to the community. And it is...
by the way, hang on. Can I finish that? Because that's not definitely, sure. The 97 million isn't only for VCs. A lot of it, we're looking at incentivizing LP token holders so that when they add liquidity to liquidity pools, that they are rewarded for that. And so it's a second distribution of that. So if you add liquidity to the liquidity pools, the rewards will come out of the 97 million as well. So that one of the things that we're really careful about is how do we make sure we've got enough funds to build this thing, that we've got enough to do sort of basic marketing, but also reward people that help out, and really staking is one of those functions. The other thing we're looking at closely is how to own that liquidity rather than renting it out. And so, Olympus DAO really forged the way with this, and it's one of those functions that we're looking at very closely is a bonding mechanism for LP tokens, so that if you add liquidity, you can sell that for a discount on getting more TST coming from that pot. So this will really help fund us well as a project, and as well as having liquidity enough for people not to feel scared of jumping in and jumping out of the project. But yeah, so all of those tokens, there's a whole bunch of things that they will be put towards. But yeah, also a discussion that we're going to have in the Discord is definitely about bonding, using bonds instead of just paying rewards out for LPs.
Exciting stuff. All right. Last question is, can we get a transparent breakdown of the allocation/use of funds raised in phase 1 and phase 2 distributions? I think they're all relevant questions that many will, the last part was in general. Okay, so it's about a financial breakdown of phase 1 and phase 2 distribution. Lauren, you want to answer that one?
Yeah. So in our team, Philip is taking care of most of the treasury. And what we are discussing was a treasury interface, which will allow people to check on our treasury. I mean, the funds that we raised are part of the DAO's treasury, and people will have access to it and see where it's spent, how much is left, where the DAO, for example, puts in the funds that he owns and so on. So we are building that tool at the moment. There's just so many things that, in the early days when you set up a DeFi project like that you have to do at the same time. So it's happening, and it will be fully transparent. So you guys can check and also suggest how to manage the DAO's treasury.
Yep.
All right, awesome. That was the last question we had written on paper. We're going to open it up to all of you guys. So just request a speaking position, and I'm going to pull you up on stage. Any questions? All right, we got Viking. Okay, come on up. Man.
Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Welcome.
Hello?
Yep, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah. Okay, so my question is that, do you see any regulatory challenges from the government side when launching S0? So from the USD side, I see a lot of things like ongoing. There are a lot of news that are coming about Tether, like on a time, like every few months. Do you see those kind of issues that can plague our project, and to get out of those situations, do we have anyone on the team to tackle those regulatory issues that government might raise against our project?
Great question.
Awesome question. So regulations around the globe are evolving super quick. And there's definitely upcoming regulations like the MiCA law in the EU that will tackle exactly stablecoins. But the first thing that regulators want to tackle are the Tethers and the USDCs of the world, because, like you said, there was a lot of mismanagement and no transparency. Nobody knew what's happening with the funds that Tether is owning. And
gambling.
And nobody knew how much they had actually in USD. So I just read the number that actually they had just 2% in USD and the rest was invested. So that was their business model. And regulators don't like that. And therefore, a lot of these upcoming regulations around the globe are going for the hard-packed stablecoins in the first place. But then there are also like the MiCA law in the EU that is coming into power most likely in 2024. That will also look into the soft-packed and algorithmic stablecoins and regulate them. And to be upfront, we are having a great legal team led by Gresham International to look at all these regulatory changes. But also we are in the process of hiring an in-house lawyer that will come on board and make sure that we are compliant.
Yeah,
and just to add to this, a lot of DeFi projects like decentralized finance, without there's always I'm not saying that we're going to do that, but a lot of DeFi projects, they are just computer code. And the only way to shut that computer code down is to turn off the internet. So while regulators can tackle the onboards, meaning, for example, saying that S0 will not be allowed without a license to be traded on a centralized exchange, in the DeFi space, it becomes really difficult for regulators to enforce their agenda because, again, it's all decentralized and just running computer code. However, we take this very serious and we look into this heavily. We want to be compliant because also owning a license or being licensed is a big asset. And this can get us in front of the competition. So we're taking strong steps towards solving any issues that come from the regulatory space.
All right, Josh, anything to add?
Thank you so much.
Or do you want to follow up on Viking? If you have any follow-up question, you can ask.
I don't have any follow-up questions. I think Lauren pretty much explained everything that I wanted to know. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
No worries.
You're welcome. See ya.
Yeah, Lauren covered what I wanted to say as well, is that, I just wanted to say that main parts of regulating algorithmic stablecoins are the on and off ramps, like centralized exchanges and such. So, that's all I wanted to add, which Lauren already stated.
All right, we got KS. You are approved to speak. Come up on stage. I think you have to confirm.
Oh, maybe.
I sent him an invite. I think he just has to confirm. All right, he dropped out. Anyone else with a question, comment, or anything else? Okay, KS is back. Invite to speak.
It's really cool, this the Discord events thing, when it works.
So far, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it'd be great if it had video. We got to check that out.
Yeah, I'm going to look into it. We decided yesterday that we're going to do this AMA except in place of the video.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, just while we're waiting for KS to jump on, that we did it this way rather than in the studio with the YouTube and streaming over OBS and all sorts of fandangled stuff was because Germany's going through all sorts of stuff with, we're going through this whole pandemic stuff, and someone at the office had tested positive, so we all decided to work from home.
All right, it worked out, KS.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. My technical problem between person and keyboard, so sorry about that.
No worries. You're welcome.
My question was more around Voltero and the relationship. Obviously, it seems like a very key, critical, strategic relationship for the protocol and the DAO. How are you formalizing that? Are there agreements? And is that is my question correct? Is it truly a strategic partnership? I assume it is, but I'm just wanting a bit more detail because it seems very important as the protocol scales that you have partners like Voltero. And thanks, guys, for all the great communication. You guys doing a great job.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Cheers. Yeah. No, it's a lot of the team came out of Voltero to start with, and the idea stemmed from a lot of the conversations within the gold community, saying that, hey, we've got all this gold, but we can't do anything, and so it's definitely a very strong partnership. It's Voltero's whole board, as well as the investors, are quite excited, and the feedback that we've got about what's being built. So and the conversation that we had just recently with the other gold partner, and we're having constant discussions is that the whole industry is really looking for something like this, because people are just holding bullion and they're seeing crypto just going crazy, so they want a part of the crypto action, but they don't really know how to. Plus, there's all sorts of different regulatory things. Voltoro's dealt a lot with regulations, and it's only getting harder and harder to please the regulators. So this sort of solution is really good because it's just them plugging into a protocol rather than them accepting Bitcoin or crypto or anything like that. But they're also getting a lot more. The regulations are also getting a lot more concrete, so that makes these gold facilities a lot more likely to join us in the mission. But yeah, Voltoro, in terms of partnership, it's extremely strong. Lauren, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think you covered all.
Yeah, in terms of written agreements, there's nothing really solid in terms of written, because it's a DAO, but this is why the Wyoming thing is kind of interesting, is exactly this reason, is that you can then have written agreements. And but yeah, it's in terms of just generally moving forward, it's an absolute no-brainer for Voltoro and other gold vaulting facilities.
All right, KS, any other question?
No, that was great, guys. Again, great job with the communications. Keep it up. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot. All right, we got SGT_13B. We got the invite. All right, welcome, man. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good,
Awesome.
man.
Good.
So I have a question for you guys because obviously we were discussing this yesterday, and that Wyoming topic kind of piqued my interest in this area. Is that we were actually comparing the DAOs yesterday to crypto Ponzi schemes where they're using these large interest rates to basically pay off new investors or entice new investors to put in a position in the DAO, and then obviously that's putting out those interest rates to the newer holders and enticing them in. You guys got any comment on that?
Yeah, that's really. I mean, it's slightly different than a Ponzi, but it's definitely on that same bone, right? And what happens with these projects that do that is that they eventually run out of coins, and then a very centralized bunch of people have a lot of it, and then the whole project dies and it rug pulls, and yeah, it's a mess. It's a horrible mess. So this is exactly why the bonding mechanism that Olympus DAO forged is really interesting, because what happens is that people would stake their tokens into liquidity pools to allow for large liquidity, and then use the LP tokens, the receipts for staking, and trade them for a bond that gives an ROI, but you can't get the bond, you can't get the LP token back. Now the protocol now owns it, and so there's no likelihood of it's much less likely to deal in a downward spiral mess that we've seen multiple projects go down. So yeah, I think bonding is a really interesting mechanism to solve that. But the Wyoming DAO, yeah, I'm not sure if that has much to do with solving that. I think the bonding mechanism is a better way to solve that issue.
So some of these projects are using bonding, and I think LPs. So I don't know if that would solve it in the long term either. What's TST's take on that? What are you guys trying to implement to prevent something like that as just coming off as a modern day Ponzi in the crypto space. Because I mean, you kind of said that it's kind of like it, but it's not. So you kind of have that feeling that it is.
Well,
So where's the TST at?
like a typical Ponzi is where you take the funds.
Oh, I know
from,
what a Ponzi is.
Yeah, but I'm just explaining for everyone else so that
Oh, okay.
so if you say, hey, we're going to give you a large ROI, and then you get investors coming in, and you take the money that the investors are coming in with and giving it to the investors, back to the investors. Whereas in the crypto space, a lot of these, they've got a large pool of tokens that they're giving them rather than the money that's coming in. So that's where it's a little bit different. And but what effectively happens is that they are very intransparent with how many tokens are in the treasury, and then also once the tokens are distributed amongst the people, that eventually the project runs out of those tokens, and then the community doesn't even know, and that's when you start getting into trouble as a protocol. So it's I think it's an issue on transparency. How transparent can you be? What's the allocation towards bonds that are being sold? How many bonds are going to be sold, and this sort of thing. Like being a lot more open and transparent with it, I think really helps.
Yeah. So maybe the Ponzi's that we've seen, the biggest are usually, come in with $500. They've basically going to repay someone else with that money, and then as someone else comes in, they take their money, but they're repaying somebody else, and it's a constant cycle. And then you also have your pyramid where or your MLM where most money's funneling upwards as more people come in. So, but yeah, that's cool. I appreciate you guys taking that question.
Yeah, no worries, man. Great question. I think the biggest thing that the crypto industry needs to get past is all of these scams that do this stuff, and there's a heap of them. A lot of them are more in the meme coins and these sort of coins that just pop out of nowhere to be, and they just try to sort of make a quick buck and run, as opposed to, serious projects that are trying to build something real, not just a coin with a dog on it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I mean it's hitting hard because that's what's drifting our conversations into, what exactly are these DAOs and what do they look like that we've seen in the past, right? And I mean, some of us have kind of looked at, oh wow, look at Jade. They have this enormous APY. Let's jump in and let's sell within a couple weeks. I actually went on vacation. I didn't put a lot in, maybe like $175 or so.
Yeah.
Came back from vacation 7 days later, and I had $22. So
Oh,
I
man.
mean, but for me, I don't. So
Yeah.
I don't mind because I'm not one that's out there putting money into a place that's going to make or break me or going to pay a bill with it, right? So I tell people often I don't really care when I invest in something and I get it sucks, but I find it no more than walking into the casino at the craps table for myself because I like to play craps. So I mean, if I can sit there and roll the dice with, at $200 on the table at per roll, like 175 to try and double my money, and Jay doesn't bother me, right?
Yeah. It's still horrible, and what it does is give the entire industry a terrible name. So if you try to
That's exactly
tell
what it
people
does.
about a good project, they're like, no, it's a scam. Everything's a scam,
Yep.
and the word scam. I'm good friends with like people like Tone Vase, for instance. I've known him for years, and he just calls everything a scam. And the trouble with that is that the word scam gets diluted into just everything is a scam, which is obviously not. And it's horrible because the more actual scams there are, the more people actually believe that statement that everything's a scam, and it's unfortunate because there's a lot of really good talent, really good people building interesting projects that, hey, it's an experiment for sure. There's some crazy weird DeFi stuff which is totally experimental, But hey, it's better than economic top-down experiments like I don't know, communist Russia building gulags and killing millions of people. It's like
Wow, that escalated quickly.
Yeah,
All
I mean,
right,
this is
I
what
add
happens.
Doris to our conversation, so we can just open up the discussion a little bit. Oris, if you want to join, just come in. You
On
gave us some good questions today.
yeah, I had a on TST, and I'm just trying to recall. You guys are not like, because we did an AMA at WOS, and there was a DAO. I believe they wouldn't come out and say it directly, but they were nothing more than like a payday lender. And they were appealing. They were saying they were appealing to people who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I just want to make sure I don't have the same. That's not this project, is it?
No, it's very
Okay.
different.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean they got pretty upset with me because I said, I it's awesome that you guys feel that your project is a win, but this already exists in outside crypto space, and it's real crummy, right? Like you're preying on the poor people that if they would just get out of that cycle, they wouldn't need this service, and you're just creating it in the crypto space. So
Yeah.
they
No,
got really upset.
Absolutely. Look, anything that works in crypto, especially the DAO, and is telling people that they will lend on the lend to people under collateralized, I would stay away from, because the only way to chase these under collateralized loans is with reputational hit, and reputational hit then means legals, and this whole payday lending stuff, and then having big goons go around to people's houses. It's just it's a horrible, like you said, it's a horrible business model.
Yeah, it is, and this one, it actually will liquidate them at a certain point. It could liquidate them in a price shift in their inside their own loan, and they would just be out. So, and I was real curious, like, if they were able to manipulate the price, they could liquidate people that needed that money and are relying on that, because I think the premise is that they put it into that DAO, they take the loan, and the interest coming off of it is how they repay their loan. But if they get liquidated, they're out. So it was like, I was like, wow, you mean you're putting people that's in a bad situation in a further bad situation where they're out of they're no longer in control, right? And that, boy, they were unhappy, as because they're coming to us for an AMA, and then one of the mods is just beating the crap out of them, because I'm like, dude, this is crap. Like you're not, you're showing me that you're nothing more than a modern day payday lender, which is scammy enough as it is with the crazy interest rates that they put on people, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Mind if I hop in for a second?
yeah, no, go for it, man.
Yeah, just on the topic. I mean, I think there are a lot of predatory projects out there, and there always have been in this space. And I do I watch a lot of projects, and I'm passionate about a number of them, and Standard is one. I mean, the fact that it's based on over collateralizing physical assets to create a soft peg stable coin, which really, I mean, stable coins have become a really important backbone of the whole crypto space. But because there's so little transparency in some of them, and so much potential volatility, and the fact that they're pegged against fiat rather than against other assets that don't necessarily suffer some inflationary issues like gold, I think this project has a lot going for it in those regards. Also, in terms of like holding and APY and Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes and whatnot, I think a big distinction here is that there is value in participating in the DAO and in holding TST, in being able to potentially scoop up physical assets, physical gold, below spot, for example. So there are some other incentives in holding this. The token does present a bit of a value proposition that isn't kind of your classic year-over-year returns. And I think that really adds a lot of, I don't know, I just think reason to hold and participate rather than just look to profit and dump.
Awesome, love it. Thanks, Osirage. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
So with what he said though, and these other ones are claiming the same things, like it's better to participate, it's better to hold, it's better to do this. So and I think what Joshua said is like, it's just putting a bad taste in everyone's mouth when it doesn't pan out, right? They're making those hard promises and they're not delivering on them, and it's unfortunate because, like your buddy, when we start talking and discussing DAOs in general, and we're labeling them with negative connotations, it's just not a good look, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
All right, well, I'll drop off.
thanks for great questions.
All right.
Christoph.
And we had some awesome questions today. I didn't expect so much participation on such a spontaneous AMA. So thank you, everybody, for your time. It's awesome. We got another one, another hand up. It's Surgical. All right, welcome, man. How are you doing?
Hello.
Hey,
Yep,
Surgical, man. I used to work with Surgical back at Channel 9.
Yes, a long time ago, mate, when we used to talk about how broken the system was. So it's refreshing to see you doing something about it.
Thanks, yeah.
We can catch up offline. We won't bore the others. But I wanted to ask, like, if I'm explaining the stability fee to an old dude that wants to invest, how would I explain it and break it down in a way that doesn't hurt their brain?
So what I usually say, like, the stability of the coins is multifaceted, right? One of the mechanisms is obviously the stability fee, which is the interest rate, and I'll explain definitely how I've explained it in the past. Not that I'm the best at it, because I've had some people totally fall asleep, but it's multifaceted, because when you say, for instance, the oil futures, right? Oil futures have physical delivery as an option. And it's really weird. Everyone's like, what? Who would take physical delivery of barrels of oil like on their future contracts? But the fact of it is, no one does. But the threat of that ability to have physical delivery is basically what pegs the price to a barrel of oil. Because if it separated too much, some crazy maniac would actually take physical delivery of those oil barrels. So there's that, right? And how that translates to us is that when you say that there is a soft peg, that the whole process is to peg to €1, for instance. Let's just take that. Then it generally people have that in their mind. So even without the stability fee, people will try to arbitrage the difference out, so that if the price drops, they might buy it and then sell it to someone where it hasn't dropped yet. And so having these arbiters really help with that. And the second is obviously the interest rate. So how I explain it is, imagine a whole bunch of people take loans out, and let's say the S euro drops to the euro down to 10 cents, down 10 cents to 90 cents to the euro. So one S euro is valued at 90 actual euro cents. Then if you lift the stability fee, which is basically an interest rate on all those loans, then people will be like, this is too much for me now. I'm gonna close my loan out. So they'll go back onto the secondary markets, buy back S euro, causing demand. What does demand do? Well, demand lifts prices, and so the price will head towards $1 again as more and more people try to buy back to pay back their loans. Same with the other way. If it overshoots and hits €1.10, then the Dow will lower the interest rates, and people go, oh, cool, I'm going to take some loans out because it's nice and cheap, and they'll then flood the market, creating supply into the market of new S euro. What does supply do? Oversupply drops the price. So this is why it's more of a soft peg rather than a hard peg. And actually, this is exactly what central banks have done, except they're dealing more with general stability of the economy when compared to like pork bellies, milk, bread, wheat, and these other indices. So when the Fed, or when the Fed's a bit different because it's really wacky, but let's say the Reserve Bank in Australia does it, they do the same thing. They lift interest rates or lower interest rates depending on the stability of the Australian dollar compared to all those other commodities. And so it's a tricky one. If anyone out there can explain it even better to a 5-year-old, please type it into one of the chats. And because it is something that's a tricky thing to explain. How have you been explaining it?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I'm about to explain it soon. I wanted the tricks. I've actually lived with a couple of PhD economists in London, so I've sent them the Dow's white paper and some questions, and they're on holidays. But when they come back with some of those answers, I'll share them with you guys.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the stability, we've called it the stability fee because this is kind of the nomenclature of DeFi now. But at the end of the day, it's an interest rate that is applied to people for themselves. So when something gets too expensive, then they'll be likely to close that loan off and like, no, I'm going to pay that back, and not be bothered. Now, in terms of like too high interest rates, is also going back to what KS was saying about payday loans and stuff, and all of a sudden people not being able to pay back the loans they took out on themselves. Obviously, there's a little level of self control there, and education about being fiscally responsible within yourself. And but one of the things we're looking to do is allow people to automatically trade their collateral when it's dropping in value to something more stable like bullion, so that if you're holding ETH and there's a big sell-off, ETH and the ETH price is tanking, then the smart contract holding that collateral will automatically buy gold, so it'll be in something more stable. We might even, just as an MVP, swap it to like another stable coin rather than gold, because we're still working on those contracts. Just in terms of getting this out fast, might be an option. But yeah, that might be a good way to do that. Obviously, there's always going to be some liquidations. We can't really stop that from happening. And it's good for the community too, for TST holders, that they can buy up those liquidated assets under spot.
Well, I'm guessing for gold owners, having that as a feature is also attractive to them, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every time I talk to a gold bug, they're like, oh my God, I just can't wait for this, because I've got so much money just sitting there. Because they buy gold because of the shit hits the fan scenario globally, in terms of hyperinflation or something like that, and they want to have some liquidity to do stuff with it, and because they're already hedging on the fact that we will go into a fairly large, we're already going into a large inflation cycle, that this inflation pays off the loan that they're taking out from themselves effectively.
Yeah. Oh, and some feedback on the video. The apartment building analogy works really well with anyone that I show. It's an absolute killer.
Oh, cool. Nice. Thanks.
Could have bought 5 luxury apartments is definitely one that hits home.
Yeah. I mean, I've effectively done that multiple times. I've spent. I had to sell a whole bunch of Bitcoin just for the deposit on rentals before, and it always hurts thinking about it.
It's a true analogy. One more question, guys, and then I'll leave it for others. Is there any other project out there that you think is doing something similar? Or, I mean, Olympus DAO, you've mentioned a few times, and is kind of, I guess, not doing the gold thing, which I think really sets you guys apart. But is there anyone else that you kind of feel is?
Yeah,
I mean,
you
you
Josh.
Olympus does something totally fairly different. It's about bond, like allowing you to buy bonds instead of for the liquidity tokens. So I can explain that some other time a little bit more. Maybe we'll do a video on it. But yeah, there's definitely the DeFi space is interesting. The biggest one really is Maker. That's I feel is our competitor, Maker. The issue that Maker has is that they have one output, and that's DAI, and that basically is pegged to the US dollar, and that's it. They also really quite centralized. It's not the best mechanism they've got, because they are waiting for the DAO to vote on stuff, and I kind of feel like voter apathy in DAOs is a really important subject that needs to be brought up, meaning a lot of people buy these DAO tokens, but they never actually go and, like everyone here, are actually interested in what we're doing, and they're coming here and they're talking to us. But I've seen in the past where the Maker DAO's voters, there was like 3 people coming to vote for interest rates, and this is just scary. So we're looking at different ways of tackling that. And there's a bunch of different. So Maker, for instance, there's a minimum of $10,000. So we really want to be for every person, not just the wealthy. So it's about building a true building the standard for stablecoins, and obviously calling it the standard, because there's also physical bullion involved. If you want it to be, I mean, you can also collateralize purely with crypto, but yeah, we want to make sure that we're available for everybody, and this is also why Ethereum base layer just isn't really the way to go with these gas fees. It's just ludicrous.
Yeah,
All right.
cheers.
Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I would thank everybody for their time and wrap it up here. Does not seem so. So from my side, thank you, everybody. It was surprisingly interesting and exciting. Looking forward already to the next one.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. I like it. It's such a nice way of quickly getting together, discussing topics, getting some answers, and then going to have dinner, which I'm gonna have
I
right now.
think we are really forming here a great community, and that's awesome.
Yeah, the level of questions was higher than in any other AMA that we did outside of our own community, actually.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time, and hope to see everybody soon.
Yep.
Thanks everyone.
Cheers. Ciao.
Bye.